Hi guys, Alex here from Jada Solutions. Today we're going to be talking about going back to work. So because of COVID, obviously, many of us have been either working from home or laid off. And now with the government starting to relax some of the restrictions, we are now going back to our offices. Construction workers are going to be back at work. So it's not going to be like it was before. A lot of people have asked us that. Is it going to be business as usual? No, it won't be. Some things seem like they'll never go back to the way they were, which is not necessarily a bad thing. There's just a couple precautions that you'll need to take. If you're an employer, as an employer, you'll need to take, or if you're a worker, you too have to take some extra precautions going back to work. And today we're going to be talking about some of those. In safety, we always want to have a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach. So essentially that means we want to prevent something from happening in the first place, rather than simply reacting to it after the fact. So if we're talking about a trip over a piece of equipment, a proactive approach would be to remove the tripping hazard. That way, no incident ever occurs, versus having to follow up after an incident happens with a root cause analysis, etc., etc. So we want to prevent anything from happening. So proactive is always better than reactive. In terms of COVID and what that looks like, there's a couple different things we can do as a proactive approach. So the first and most important thing is education. So that goes for employers, it goes for workers, it goes for just daily life about, going to the grocery store or whatnot. We want to educate ourselves about the facts. There's a lot of misinformation around on the internet, and I think more than ever at this time, there's a lot of misinformation circulating. We want to try to avoid all of that and just focus on the facts. What is real? What do we know about this virus? So, Cole's Notes version, the virus is not transmittable in the air. It's not airborne. That means airborne viruses are transmitted just in the air, floating around all the time. That's not the case with COVID. It's transmitted with respiratory droplets. So that's the wet portion of talking or sneezing. So that's how the virus is transmitted. That's what we want to avoid, which is the reason why masks and such have been recommended. This is good news because it means that someone actually has to cough in our face, sneeze on us, or on a surface that we then touch in order for us to get the virus. We're not just going to walk into a room and it's going to be full of coronavirus. That's not how this happens. That's fact number one. Fact number two is that the virus is actually pretty easily killed with disinfection. So cleaning procedures are going to be our best friend during this time. We'll talk a little bit more about what that's going to look like in a couple minutes. But with the education component, we want to focus again on the facts of the virus, sorting out the rumors and myths from what we actually know. And also education about the steps that we can take and what actually we can do to empower ourselves to protect ourselves. So we talked in our last video about hand washing and how important that is. That still goes. It's more important than ever now when we go back to work. Don't touch your face and wash your hands all the time. As many times as you can handle in a day. Stock up on extra hand cream because your hands are probably going to be pretty dry after a lot of washing, but it's a small price to pay for making sure that you're protecting yourself. Education is first. Some other proactive approaches that an employer can take, or a building owner, are limiting who is entering the building and when. So of course we want to avoid crowds, and even less than that, gatherings of any sort. We want to try to avoid as much as possible, and that includes meetings. So if you don't have to meet with your staff, or you can have smaller meetings, go for that. If you can do it over an online platform, do it that way. If you can limit the amount of people coming in and out of your building, or staggering the shifts, for example, if you're a manufacturing facility and you can stagger your workers to come in, 50% of them come in Monday to Wednesday, 50% of them come in the end of the week. If you can do that, fantastic. That's going to go a long way towards avoiding groups of people and crowds. Some other ideas in terms of keeping people apart is enforcing that physical distancing requirement. I know most of us have heard the term physical distancing so many times now, but it's still important because of that respiratory droplet transmission. We don't want to get close enough for someone to be able to cough on us or sneeze on us. And this applies, again, it's not just work, even going out to the grocery store, going to the park now that are opening up, going for walks, bike rides, whatever you choose to do, try to stay away from others as much as possible. Of course, it's not always going to be possible, but we want to do the best we can. So that's all we can do right now, is just try our best to stay 6 feet away from people. In the same vein, we want to try to limit contact at all. And this is physical contact, of course. And it includes sharing tools, sharing binders of forms or equipment. We want to avoid also sharing office equipment like printers. It's a great example for an office. Oftentimes there's that digital interface that many people are touching. That is not what we want to encourage at this time. We want to try to limit people from touching the same types of things. And of course, any tools and equipment that multiple people are using, if you do share between coworkers, that should be limited as much as possible. In terms of some other controls that we can talk of, restrooms are going to be an area where there's going to be potential for transmission. Some good ideas for restrooms are, if you can, keep the doors open. Oftentimes there's, doors that open and shut as people go in and out. If you can keep that door open, it eliminates one of those touch points that people will be touching as they go in and out. Another idea is to provide paper towels instead of hand dryers. I know that seems a bit counterintuitive with all the pressure to be environmentally sustainable, but with COVID going on, hand dryers have been shown to spread droplets and spread viruses and bacteria much, much easier than paper towels. So if you can go with paper towels just for this time for people to dry their hands, that would be a good step. With regards to cleaning, so we've heard a lot about cleaning requirements during COVID and what that's going to look like. Not a whole lot's going to change now that we're going back to work from what it was before everything got shut down. So increased cleaning frequency is still recommended. Most commercial cleaning products will do the trick for COVID. Even an ethanol or alcohol, as long as it's 70% or higher concentration, that's sufficient to kill the virus. Hydrogen peroxide-based cleaners, quats, they call them, cleaners. Again, most commercial cleaners will do the trick. You're going to want to focus on high touch point areas. That should be the focus for this return to work. So depending on what your environment is, that might be a little different. So in an office environment, if you have elevators, those elevator pads would be high touch point. Entry and exit doors into the facility, any facility, are going to be high touch points. If you can't close bathroom doors, those doors are going to be high touch points. Sinks, fridges in communal lunchrooms, anything that many people are touching, those are the things we should be focusing on for cleaning. Not to say we shouldn't be cleaning the rest of the facility, of course we should, but again, we're worried about people transmitting through touch. A focus on those things and keeping a regular schedule of cleaning. And of course, if you are there yourself, taking initiative yourself to cleaning your desk, cleaning your computer, cleaning your mouse, that's going to go a really long way. And if everyone can pitch in and try to keep the areas clean and sanitary, I think we're going to end up with a better result than if we just kind of let things take their course. Apart from the cleaning and the education and all that stuff that we've talked about, which is wonderful, there's a couple additional considerations that some building owners might need to keep in mind. So an indoor air quality assessment is a great idea right now, just to ensure, of course, that your indoor air quality is optimal before people go back to work, and even a week or so after they've been back in the office. And that, as we've said, ensures that any symptoms that people may be showing are actually related to COVID, if that happens, and not just poor indoor air quality. To recap, the whole point right now is we're trying to get people back into their jobs, back making money, back making the province money, and we want to, of course, limit the spread of any viruses, not just COVID. And we're going to try our best to take a proactive approach, which includes education about the virus, about the precautions, about our rights as workers. And we want to try to limit physical contact. We can do this in a couple different ways depending on your setup. We can stagger shifts. We can limit who's allowed to come in the building. We can enforce physical distancing. We can cancel in-person meetings for the time being and do them online. There's many different approaches you can take, but of course the main objective is to keep people at least 6 feet apart. Of course, we want to maintain the cleaning that we established before everything got shut down. So regular cleaning, focusing on those high touch points, areas that many people are touching on a regular basis. And some other controls that are a good idea are having a little revisit of your HVAC system to see if perhaps we can optimize that a little bit better to improve the indoor air quality. And of course, if you have any questions or concerns about any of this, if you want to get more facts on COVID, more facts about returning to work, give us a call at JADA. It's free to give us a call and ask questions. And we have professionals here, including myself, who are willing to talk to you and answer any questions you might have. If you do need extra help with a return to work program, we are doing that for many of our clients now. So we'd be glad to help you out with that and ensure that your staff can get back to work and everyone stays safe.